Time for our favorite segment. Is this a problem? Oh, you haven't seen this, Trevor?
I don't know if I have, but if I did, I probably tried to forget.
I mean, it's pretty horrifying. I don't know why my neck and chest are gray, but probably because we're burning in the house.
Hey, when
that's just a picture.
Apparently, when it's hot in the room, I shrink. So, I mean, that's just what it is, I guess.
The only time you've looked small on our set.
Skinny arms.
Either way, Boiler's kind of a fan of saying, like...
Picking up my 2-year-old, like, for, a while. He's 42 pounds.
He's off, yeah. You kind of are a fan, though, of saying, like, it's a problem. This is going to be a problem. So we have this segment, and that is how it's been born. So we're going to kind of go through a few different hot topics and ask ourselves, is this a problem? Well... kind of a rhetorical question here, but the Islanders have been outscored 6-0 in the third period through 2 games of their series against the Canes. Is this a problem, Robert?
Yes, and it clearly was in their last game. But the Islanders are not a team that scores enough goals. So if you're not scoring enough goals, then you certainly in the last frame can't be giving them up, right? So yeah, that's a problem. It's a bad trend. Kind of been something all year with this team, and they're going to have to buck that if they want an opportunity to get some wins in the series.
That's problematic. It's an issue.
It is.
You hate to see it if you're an Islanders fan. That is a problem. We do not want that.
No.
How do you fix it? Like, they're a decent defensive team most of the time.
You got to get the puck and then keep it. Yeah. Go down the other end and play that way.
Yeah, but you have to
can't do it.
Thank
you.
But
see, you have to have sustained. But see, I almost think though, like it's a mentality too, because they have the guys who should be able to do it.
Right.
And sometimes it's just, turn your back to the middle of the ice, face the glass, and protect pucks for a shot. Grind it down. Play some ugly hockey. And this franchise knows how to play ugly hockey. When they made it to 2 Eastern Conference Finals, they played ugly hockey. Yep. A lot of those guys are still on roster. I'm not saying play like that team. You're trying to get away from that. That's why Patrick Waugh is trying to get a little more offense going. And they do score timely goals. But sometimes when you want to grab that, that's one of the biggest things I think that lacks in the NHL these days. I don't think all teams or players have the right role players and guys that understand how to pull back momentum. Pulling back momentum, sure. If we're going out there for a shift, the 3 of us are going out there, and the other team just scored, yes, clearly the best thing we could possibly do to shift momentum is score a goal.
Right.
Clearly. Well, it's not that easy, right?
It's hard, actually.
It's hard. It's actually very hard. So, hey, you start with, let's just play at that end. Every decision we make is to advance pucks, advance zones, get down there, and just protect it. And keep it down there. And then one of us will make a smart change, get another fresh guy out there, and then we'll start kind of getting a little bit of rhythm. That's how you start. Yeah, that's how we come back to the bench. Now we're moving, right? The Islanders know how to do this. They have the guys to do it. Now they simply have to do it. Low event hockey, play at the other end, and easier said than done because Carolina doesn't really let you do that.
You want to go intersport sort of collab here, sort of like in football, if you're playing against a powerful offense and I have the ball, my team's good, and we can win the game, but we don't want to get them on the field. We're going to grind it.
And run the ball, right?
And work the clock. If you can slow the game up at a pace that you want to play at, be physical, put pucks in areas and don't let them get through. Make them work as far up the ice as they have to or they can. You get them to turn around. You give them 20, 30 seconds in there and before they go on the attack. That's going to slow down their game. That's how you build momentum. That's how in the second period you can take over a game if you continue on that and you have a long change. Like Rupper said, you can get fresh bodies out while they still have tired bodies. You got to dictate the terms and figure out a way to do that, and they haven't been able to do it yet.
And I think the decision-making is, to go off the same analogy, the 3 of us are on a line. If I'm down in the corner and I think Boiler's open in the slot, that's not good enough.
No.
In that moment, if I think, don't do it. If I know, if he's yelling, and now I can do a blind pass, because that's where we see the one and dones. Right? Oh, I want to flip the game real quick. I want to get that next goal. Well, one and dones is the biggest killer for momentum for any team, right? So you got to dummy it down once in a while. And I think that's something that they will struggle with against the Carolina Hurricanes. But they need to do it if they want to get some zone time and some momentum in their favor.
Yeah, Game 3 on Thursday. Another question we have is about the Bruins goalie situation. Right now, they're both great. We know this. Ullmark was great. They ended up losing last night. Jeremy Swayman is great. They ended up winning Game 1. The question is, Is it a problem to have two goalies that you kind of maybe overthink the situation a bit? And it's the situation in the NFL, they say if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. Is it the same in hockey? Is it a problem to have two #1 goalies?
It's different. And here's the thing. If it works once, if this ends up working out for the Bruins, and I've changed my tune on this a lot. I was of that same mentality where you don't have two #1s. You have an issue. If it works, it's going to be a new trend. We've seen goalie injuries. We see what's going on in Vancouver. They're panicking. It can be a luxury, especially if for almost the better part of 2 seasons, these guys are more adapted to playing and then sitting. They have a great relationship, it seems, by all accounts. I don't think you can fake that silly hug they do that many times without it
getting a little stale.
Yeah, well, it's authentic, though.
Yeah, right.
And Ullmark played well. Swayman played well. You know, best case scenario is 2-0. Second best case scenario is those two played well. Let's figure out what else. And we're just going to stick with this now. It's the first time, you know, it's game 1 and 2, so they each got a game, and you kind of go from there. If unforeseen things happen, injury or really some poor play, then you can kind of make an adjustment there. It's a luxury. I think the fact that they were stubborn with it as management and as a coaching staff, it might, I know they lost, but it might go down as one of the best things that they did. They, especially with what happened in Minnesota last year in the first round with Gustafsson and Fleury. We're all banging our heads against the wall. Why would you do this? You played so well. That's what they did all year. They stuck with it. I give the Bruins credit.
Well, I'll say this. What team has ever won the Stanley Cup rotating on a strict schedule like that? I don't know of anyone that's ever have. But I'm not saying this as a they can't do this. I like the fact that they're thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Who cares what people think and what they say? Because I thought Sway should have played a game in game 2.
Yeah.
But they, you know, Jim Montgomery knows his group. They know their group. And you trust that that's what. Here's where I think it will be a problem. It's not a problem because they are used to doing it. Where I think it will become a problem is the longer the playoffs go on.
Yeah.
There's going to become a point. Let's say that they come out of the East and they go to the Stanley Cup Finals. And again, to go back on, you know, sure, this could be the first time we ever see this, of a strict every other game, because that's what they operate on. And a lot of people are saying right now in this situation, it works because that's what they do, okay? If you're going to do that, then you got to see it all the way through.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden, if we want to talk about what they do, and then you get to the finals and there's one guy, well, now all of a sudden these guys aren't this typical every other day goalie. That's not what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you can't just automatically just fall back.
Well, yeah, if you're game 2, let's say whatever, you're down in the series and it's game 2, you're down 1-0 and Swayman goes out and ends up putting up a stinker. And then they go back to Ullmark and whatever, they lose that game too. So suddenly you're trying to avoid a sweep or whatever it is. It's an elimination game and you go back to the guy that got lit up last time. That's where it's a problem.
But if they move off of it because
then
of a
it's
circumstance
panic.
like that, now it's fine. But in the same rate where we see backup goalies become starters, and you're like, whoa, how long is this going to last? Because he's not used to doing that.
Yeah.
They are not used to doing it. Like, that, you know, I don't know. Can they do it?
Well, here's my theory on the whole thing. I think these two players generally have the best, healthiest goalie tandem relationship ever. I really do. I think that they really care about each other. They're invested in how the other guy plays because they know they can go back and forth. So they're almost in it together. So they're both dialed in every game. Now, the physical toll might not be there when you're not playing, but I think these two have that net together, that this is our net, which is so rare. We've never seen it. This is our net when we get called upon, which is sort of scheduled now. We're going to be obviously full on rooting for you to do your best so our team wins. They're so bought into it.
Yeah.
And I think they know that there in Boston. I think that they don't want a guy sitting longer. They don't want a guy playing more games than he's used to. They're going to go right down the line. And if it works, it'll be a great storyline, and they'll do a documentary on it in Boston.
And it's
really
great. I love that you do it. But that, to your point, if it works, the problem is if it doesn't.
It's hard to win the cup, man.
One of them's going to have a bad game.
A stinker,
or two.
yeah.
Are you going to deter from this now? You know what I mean? You're not going to be married to one single thing and be like, this is what we're going to do regardless. Like,
but they might
I find it really interesting. It's interesting.
It's totally flipped on my head. Like
I don't know what to think about it, which is great.
I think I turned you.
You may have turned me. Yeah,
Very
doing it their way. And as
interesting.
long as you're convicted
Brothers
what you're
don't
doing,
shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
Brothers got a
they
hug.
do every single game, it feels
Okay,
like.
really quick, we do have one more question for you. Alec Martinez is a healthy scratch. Was game 1. We'll see about game 2. This guy is a what, 3-time Stanley Cup champ? Oilers losing it over here. He was a healthy scratch because they have an abundance of riches there on the blue line. Is this a problem to have a guy like Alec Martinez as a healthy scratch?
Yes, it is a problem for the other teams that they play against.
Yeah, call an
This
ambulance.
is a loaded group, and you know Alec Martinez. Like, we were just talking about him over. Talk about a guy that scores clutch goals in his. I mean, he's a cup winner.
3-time.
He's got overtime winners.
He has a cup.
Oh, you mean a cup-winning goal?
He has
Yes,
a cup-winning goal.
Oh, yeah.
But like this guy has his big moment. It seems like every playoff run that we see him, right? And he is a veteran guy. He's solid. I didn't realize how thick he is. Like he's a pretty solid guy. And like to have that type of experience just there, if you need it, it could happen. It could be in the next game or 3 games, or that's a problem for other teams. The depth that team has at D.
Yeah, it's a problem for the West, and it might be a problem for whoever comes out of the East too in the final. But he is. We were together in the minors our first year's pro.
Oh, right.
In Manchester, and Marty he did everything right, but when you've seen throughout his career when the stakes are raised, like he won the cup for the Kings in 2014 against us in New York. And the series before that, Game 7 in overtime, he beat the Chicago Blackhawks because we were watching that game to see who we were going to be playing in Stanley Cup Finals. And he's done it. I think he scored an overtime winner last year. He's gone on. He's gone on to have an unbelievable career, and he does anything. You've seen the injuries he's had to battle through. He is Teddy Bluger last year. Yeah. That's a great hockey player who is in Vancouver, who couldn't
find the lineup, and like that's a deep, well-built team. Last year, this year,
and he's a great hockey player. And Alec Martinez is a great hockey player. I think we'll see Alec Martinez in these playoffs. Absolutely.
And the run last year, though, I want to say he's listed at like 215. Is 210, 215? Is he that thick? That solid?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's a big dude.
He doesn't look like it on the ice.
He's not like
he's
not like thick with 3 C's, but he's probably like 2 C's. At least 1.5.
All right. Yeah. Hey.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
And he's scary to play. I can imagine he's scary to play against because he looks like
does everything well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a problem for the West.